Welcome to Uxbridge Beat, the podcast where we feature the who's who of Uxbridge, Ontario. My name is Jennifer Neveu-Campsell.
And I'm Scott Campsell, and today we are going to introduce you to an incredible member of our town, Pat Higgins. Pat is the owner of our local Canadian Tire.
He is also one of the most kind and philanthropic community members that our town has to offer.
Uxbridge is so fortunate to have Pat Higgins, so we wanted to spend some time with him finding out what puts the beat into his entrepreneurial and community-minded heart.
Thank you, Pat, for joining us on Uxbridge Beat. You're certainly no stranger to anyone in town, but help us get to know you a little bit. Tell us about your background.
Oh, wow. Okay, where do I start? Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's great to be here. And, I was born and raised in Gananoque, Ontario, the good old Thousand Islands, and finished my high school there. And believe it or not, all through high school, I worked as a short order cook. I set off after grade 12 to become a chef. And I landed in Toronto. I worked at the Inn on the Park in Toronto for about 6 months and decided I didn't want to be a chef. So many nights you work all the holidays and so on, and it just wasn't for me. So I set off one morning, took the subway to Union Station, and I walked Yonge Street, and I finally found a job at the Canadian Tire gas bar pumping gas at Yonge and Davenport in Toronto, the Canadian Tire right downtown in Toronto. So that's how I got started with Canadian Tire.
And then when did you meet Karen?
So I met Karen. So I started in 1976, 46 years ago, actually, with Canadian Tire. And I worked with the guy at the site for about a year. And then I got an offer for a job in Canadian Tire Petroleum head office. And I guess I'd been there probably about 3 years. And Karen came on as a co-op, actually. She was born and raised in Scarborough. So she got a job as a co-op in the office I was working in. And that's how we hooked up from there. So we got together, we played on the company baseball team and did all those things. And so I worked corporately for 17 years. I was in region manager for Canadian Tire Petroleum in the Ottawa Valley. I had the whole St. Lawrence region, actually, from Whitby all the way down to Cornwall, as well as all of Ottawa up through to Pembroke. So when Karen and I got married in 1984.
Yeah, don't get that wrong.
1984, yeah. We moved to Ottawa because I was posted in Ottawa, and Karen worked in a couple stores down there. And in 1989, I guess, is when I decided it was time to make a move. So I applied to become a Canadian Tire dealer. From there, it's quite a process, actually. We had to move back to Toronto. And I worked corporately for a couple more years and finally got accepted into the training program. And we got our first store in 1993. When
you get a store, do you have a say of where the location will be for that?
Not in your first store.
No?
No. So your first store, you go where they send you. You can put your preference of 4 territories in the country, but that's about it. So our first store is North Battleford, Saskatchewan. Beautiful out there, though. Saskatchewan was pretty cool, and cool for sure. In the winter, I mean, they had plugs all along the parking lot for the employees to plug their cars in. It was so cold. It was like minus 35 for 6 weeks straight. It was crazy out there. But it was a great experience for us. It really was. We really enjoyed it. And we were only there 21 months, and we got offered an opportunity back in Toronto. So after your first placement, there's a whole mobility process for Canadian Tire owners. So you get offered stores based on a certain criteria, be maybe volume and profitability and so on. So I get offered 3 or 4 stores a year. I mean, we could have moved many times, many. I just got offered a store 2 weeks ago in Cold Lake, Alberta. So there's quite a process.
So Saskatchewan, store's doing well. He's not dead from cold, so let's move him to Toronto. Is that basically how it went down?
It was an opportunity to increase volume, and the average Canadian Tire owner will move 7 times in their career. This is our 3rd store. Like when we came here, we decided to settle here. Probably not totally normal for Canadian Tire owners. Most move around. We've been here 24 years. I mean, our goal was, when our oldest, Sean, hit grade 8, we sort of wanted to be settled while our kids were going through their formative years through, primary school and high school. And we ended up coming here when Sean was in grade 4 and never left. So it's home to us now. It's home to our kids. And, never say never, but I can't see us moving to another store now at this point in our career. So
That's good.
I don't think the town would let you leave. And so why Uxbridge specifically?
you know what? At the time, I mean, it was a good opportunity. We were in Scarborough at the time. It was a good opportunity, and when we moved here, I mean, we never ever dreamed we'd be here that long. It was a good opportunity. It was a new store. At the time, this store had only been open a little more than a year. So it was just a good opportunity for us. It was a small town, the kind of community we wanted to raise our kids in as opposed to, a major city. So it was just, and we ended up just staying.
It was at this location, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the records go, they're saying this store only was around for a year? Because I know the Canadian Tire used to be where Williamson's was, like the used car dealership.
Yeah, for sure. This is, I think, the fourth Canadian Tire location in Uxbridge over the years. I think the first store opened in like 1953 or something, right downtown near where Getaway Travel is, right on that corner.
Okay.
And there was another one before that, I think, across from Rutledge's, somewhere in that area. The original one was downtown. And then you're right, the Williamson used car building was the last one, and this store opened in 1996.
See,
we came here in 98.
I'm old enough to remember what a standard weekend was Zayre's. The guys would always drop off their wives to go grocery shopping at Zayre's, and then the guys would go across the street over to the Canadian Tire and hang out there.
And we're still beside each other.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You're heavily involved in the community in a outreach type position. When did the Jumpstart program specifically begin for Canadian Tire?
For Canadian Tire or for Canadian Tire Uxbridge?
Well, for Canadian Tire in general, and then I guess
so
more
for Canadian
specifically.
Tire, I mean, it used to be called the Canadian Tire Child Protection Foundation, actually back in the day. And it started in somewhere around 1995. And it was mostly a corporate program at the time. There's some Canadian Tire owners that were, jumping aboard and doing some things in the community. It changed to the name Jumpstart somewhere around 2004. And they changed some of the rules of the game and how we could get involved and so on and get the community involved as well. And at that time, I actually met with the COO of Uxbridge, Ingrid at the time. And so we got the Uxbridge chapter going. And it's really cool that we've been able to do what we do. And we do it because we've been great partners for all these years with the town. And you can't do it if you don't have good partners. And I mean, in other markets, they might hook up with the YMCA or something like that. In our case, it's a town because they run all the camps programs and different programs for the kids in the summer and after school programs. So it was a natural. And then on top of that, they help us coordinate with the different leagues as well, whether it's minor hockey or soccer or baseball. Like, for example, I think, in our peak year, we helped someone to the town the tune of $30,000 in hockey equipment for kids in Uxbridge in 1 year, just kids that couldn't afford it. So it's been sort of cool from that standpoint. So Amanda sort of took over from Ingrid, and her and I have worked together since 2007, 2008. And part of it is because we've also been able to raise some good money. Uxbridge is a good market for, people giving back. And we've been very fortunate. We teamed up with Gary Roberts in 2008, I think it was. And we held our charity golf tournament every year, and we made upwards of $60,000 or $70,000. And the neat part about Jumpstart is 100% of the money stays in the community. So every penny we raise, we keep. So it's really helped us being able to help the community, help the town with their programs. We can do more programs because we can help fund them.
And that's not to be understated, because now as community members, if there's a Jumpstart fundraising program that's happening or an event, it would be important for us to know that if we go and support that, that's directly going back into our own community.
Absolutely. I mean, you read about so many of these charities where so much goes towards administration and so on, and that's not the case with Jumpstart. 100% stays in town, every nickel. So it's pretty cool from that standpoint. So we've been, again, fortunate. I mean, we're the most lucrative Jumpstart chapter in Canada on a per capita basis.
No way, wow.
Good for you.
So that's pretty cool.
Good for us. Yeah. Good for Uxbridge.
Yeah.
In addition to Jumpstart, though, you personally yourself contribute so much to the community. Talk to us about the new courts that have gone in.
Well, that's something I've been working on for a while. I mean, Canadian Tire started focusing on some capital projects probably 5 years ago, and I started yanking on their chain 5 years ago, and because they were building them mostly in major centers, and I get it. I mean, they're putting these big facilities up in Toronto and Calgary and Edmonton. I said, we can't forget our smaller communities across Canada either. And so we actually had our first meeting. Scott Fraser, who's the president of Jumpstart, came up, and we met with Dave Barton initially, probably 4 years ago, to talk about the dream of doing this. And, certainly the town jumped on it. I mean, what a great opportunity. This is a world-class facility and first of its kind in Canada. And
so was this your idea to bring that there, and then Jumpstart jumped in to support it? Or was it they said, this is what we do normally?
No, there's only from a market this size, there's nothing just in Canada like this. I mean, they wouldn't normally go to a market this size. So it was an opportunity to see, what would happen. And I mean, I don't know if you've been by lately, but I mean, it's busy all the time. So it's great. It's just a great facility for our community, and something that, quite frankly, I mean, our community would never be able to build something like this. It's, it just wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and the other real neat part, it's, fully accessible, which is really cool. And we're seeing that being utilized as well. Seniors can use it for pickleball. I mean, so it's a really great community.
Pickleball's really started to take off. Like, we were watching a CBC thing, and they were talking about pickleball. Some of the neighbors are complaining now because of the noise, because the ball's hitting the paddles. Yeah, but and your one music teacher, she's into
like
pickleball.
The high-ranking female in Canada. But you said it's for seniors. I might want to go play.
Well,
I just had a birthday, so I might be
tongue in cheek, maybe. Okay.
We're gonna.
We started being popular seniors. How does that sound?
It's totally accessible, so we can just keep on playing. It just we're gonna do damage to ourselves and then still go play pickleball.
Yeah, right.
And you also do the annual Huck Finn Day.
Yeah.
Or I guess this year it's the Huck Finn Extravaganza, a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat story behind Huck Finn, actually. I mean, this is our 20th year.
Wow.
And it all started, I met up with Bob Lewis. We had a trade show at the arena in 1999 or 2000, something like that. I don't know if you remember that or not. And the different service clubs were there. And I met up with Bob Lewis, and we were just talking about Elgin Pond because it had just gone through the whole dredging, and the town was all upset. And, we killed the whole ecosystem of the pond. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could do something to get the pond back to life? And I remember growing up as a kid, we had a Huck Finn fishing day in Gananoque on Canada Day every year. So it's a stolen idea. I'm not going to take credit for the idea.
Well, they used to have a trout derby. Like, I remember there was a fishing derby every year. You'd have to go get your ribbons. You go to Canadian Tire either to get your ribbons, or actually there used to be a restaurant right next to Circle K. I guess, is Universal there now? Is that the restaurant that's there? But Evelyn's used to be the restaurant, and you'd have to either go to Evelyn's to get your ribbon so you could participate in the derby, or you'd go to Canadian Tire to get it.
Yeah, so that's sort of where we started. I mean, and you're right. I mean, so Bob said, well, the Legion used to actually do a trout derby back in the 70s and 80s. So
I didn't know there was a Legion.
So I hooked up with Jack. We hooked up with Jack Ballinger, he wasn't even a counselor yet then. He was with the Legion, and that's how we got started. So our first year, we, they said, well, if we get 100 kids out, it'll be great. And I said, no, we're going to get 500 kids out. And it turns out there was like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
It was insane. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. And we've done it every year since. COVID slowed us down a bit. We had to cancel for a couple of years. And we're trying a different format now to make it maybe a little more turnkey, but also a little more family friendly, and they can fish at their leisure. And so far, we're pretty happy. It's going really well. We're seeing people there every day, and it's pretty cool. So
right from the beginning of Huck Finn, were you stocking the pond?
Yeah. We probably put 15,000 trout in that pond over the years. Yeah, wow. We put between 500 and 800 in every year. So they go over the dam, they go wherever, right? They get fished,
Right.
But we've seen years where we've seen fish caught in there that have been in there for 4 or 5 years. So we've seen some good sized ones come out of there. And we don't tag them all, but we tag, and that's how we knew that.
So we still have a chance. We still have a chance. I used to think it was fished out by the time the derby was over.
No, it's never going to get fished out. There's fish in there all the time.
That's amazing.
That's good. Yeah. Because you know what? A few weeks previous to the derby, I'll often see the I guess it's the MNR who comes and stocks it, right? And I'll see the truck there. And then even later that day, there are adults out there fishing. And I just want to go tell them, stop. This is not about you guys.
I know.
Let the kids do it.
We thought that too. We sort of got past all that, right?
Okay.
Because we know there's fish there. And and some people still do. I had calls the week before the event that, there's people fishing there. Well, you know what? You can fish. I mean,
Yeah.
but again, at the end of the day, it was mission accomplished. I mean, you see the pond now, it's thriving. I mean, there's trees growing, it's green. We got benches there now. We got a veterans park there now. We got paved walkways there now, and it's being used again. I mean, and when we started Huck Finn, that wasn't happening. It was run down and done. So pretty cool. It's pretty cool that we, over the years that we've been able to accomplish that as a community. I mean, we've worked with the community and the Legion, the Optimist Club. They've all helped us out with this. So it's pretty cool.
Well, it's interesting just from my standpoint. So 50-year-old guy born in this community, and I've seen it go from a place where you go swimming. Like my dad was the first pool director. So there was lifeguards there were swimming lessons in the pond. And every once in a while you see a Facebook group, somebody posts an old picture of the pond the way it was and everything. People go, I took swimming lessons there.
I've seen those. So you're right. It's come full circle because it was really down and out. But the good old days, aren't forgotten either, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Uxbridge. You've made it through a pandemic and now a tornado. No matter what obstacle is in our path, one thing is for sure. Nothing compares to the energy that comes from being with others as they encourage you to reach your goals. At Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness, we know that it is easy to feel overwhelmed, but our students stay focused even when life seems uncertain. We know that we are stronger together. Come find out how strong you can be. Check out Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness.
The iconic Canadian Tire money. I miss that money. Do you miss that money? I miss that money.
I think I like the points better.
I like the points better too. But before we get, I know you're really excited to talk to Pat about the point system, but before we get into that, is the Canadian Tire money program all dried up and done now?
I would say probably it's just about done.
Okay.
From the standpoint of physical money. And, we were sort of on that route going into the pandemic, and that's sort of, being the catalyst to continue that route, I think. People don't want to handle tender that's back and forth and so on. And we even see that, with cash now. I mean, more and more people are using debit or credit or whatever. And I think the other big piece of this, to your point discussion, is, it's using points in your card and so on is allowing us to learn your shopping habits better and maybe give you some better offers and deals and so on things you like to do or for your pets or pet food or whatever. So you're going to see more and more of that, not only with Canadian Tire, but I think with most companies, as we move forward. I mean, the loyalty is really important for companies. I mean, you can shop anywhere now. I mean, you can get distracted anywhere, whether it's online or whatever, right? So, if we can tell you that, we care about you, and because we care about you, we're going to give you more points if you keep coming here to buy your hockey equipment or your dog food or whatever, then you're going to become a more and more loyal customer. And loyal customers spend more money.
So how does it branch out in town? So you are owner of Canadian Tire, but the gas bar marks, that's all separate, or is it? Or do you have some?
So I'm actually the agent of the Canadian Tire gas bar as well. So I operate the gas bar. That's not common. I think there's only 4 or 5 Canadian Tire owners in Canada that have their gas bars as well. When I came here, we didn't have a gas bar, and I helped Canadian Tire Corporate get the gas bar, working with the town and so on. And I wanted to be the agent. I wanted to make sure it was operating to the standard that we wanted in the community, because if you're not operating as someone else, most people think that it's mine anyway, or that, right? So we've operated it for all these years. Mark's it's a company operated store at this point in time. So that's a total separate entity from mine.
And going back to the point, so you and I had a conversation when the pandemic first hit, because I sort of felt a little guilty. We were buying stuff from here and it looked like you would get the money from that. But now let's say I want to go and cash in my points. Am I better to go here? And I think you and I already talked about this anyway, but just so we can have it on the podcast here. Am I better to go to another Canadian Tire if I don't want it to affect you whatsoever, to go and cash in something? So let's say I bought hockey equipment, but now I know got to go get that shovel. And I know I got the points for the shovel, but do you lose out because I use the points here? Or am I better to go to another Canadian Tire, buy the shovel there, and then that doesn't affect you at all?
No, not at all. It doesn't affect us all. So we want your business all the time. So, no, it does. I mean, we have a contract and agreement with Canadian Tire and how we split the responsibility of the points when they're issued. And so when they're redeemed, doesn't matter. It doesn't affect us.
So you can still shop local, still not feel like you're hurting local business at all by doing that.
Okay, for sure.
shopping locally through the pandemic was such an important factor, and there was so much focus on small businesses and support small business. Canadian Tire, as a bigger business, was not unaffected by any shape or form. How did you guys fare through the pandemic?
Well, it was a challenge for sure. I mean, we've been through 2+ years now of constant change, and opening, close, new rules, being imposed by the region or the province. It's been a real challenge. People not wanting to work, people afraid to work, people afraid to work beside this person. The public has been good for the most part, but there's people in the community that haven't been good, or I shouldn't say community, in the public. So we have challenges every day with all that, but it's been good. We've managed through it all. I have a fantastic staff. They've been very loyal, and that's been so important. I mean, they care about the business, and I care about them. I mean, we're one big family, and I got upwards of 140 employees at any given time. So we learned how to adjust again on a daily basis, and the staff did. I mean, we have team meetings every morning. It's interesting when we close. Probably the peak was last year. We closed like mid-April till I think June 9th of 21. That was our last big closure. And we were doing like upwards of 700-800 online orders a day. It was insane. And so we'd have, we have our morning meetings, and we'd have 30 or 40 employees huddled at the start of the day. And they're all sort of, wow, I did 41,000 steps yesterday. Like, they were working so hard, just running around picking customer orders and running out and putting them in cars and so on. So again, we found ways to adapt, and we still are. I mean, every day there's something different. I think now that most of the rules have eased off and so on, it's more clarity now, I think, than anything. That, some people don't understand the current situation or the current rules, and some don't want to understand. And you know what? I mean, we still have 2 or 3 people a week that are missing shifts for whatever reason, because they're sick or they test positive. So we deal with it, and we just get through it. That's all you can do.
What about the supply chain for you?
Supply chain is still a challenge. And you're going to see that probably for a couple more years in society, not just Canadian Tire. Probably in 2020, when it first happened, I mean, most of our product was in for the year, but the demand, we had no idea what the demand would be. And I mean, we were selling out everything. So, going into 2021, it was really tough ordering and figure out what we need, and so on. And the other thing, you have to have space to put all this stuff, right? And, decide or understanding whether you would get it or not. So supply chain is continuing to be an issue, and it's affected business. Because the other thing, especially when we were closed, but with the whole online now, the business we were getting from surrounding areas, like we have people coming from as far as St. Catharines to get a trampoline because we were the only store that had it. So people can go online and get visibility to the stores that have it. So, product we would order and have just, for our market, our normal sales, we get customers coming from all over. And that's still the case, actually. And then the other real caveat here is, like, we have no idea what to expect. Like, it's just a real crapshoot. I mean, we're seeing price of gas go up, costs you a lot more to fill your fridge and all these things. So we have no idea what's going to, people are starting to travel. So what's going to happen with disposable income? And so it's really tough to order right now and figure it all out. But back to your question on supply chain, that's going to be an ongoing issue. I mean, just the cost of freight. We had a session online in the fall, and they were telling us pre-pandemic, I guess it was, to get a container on a ship across the ocean was about $1,200 to $1,500. And the cost was as high as $25,000 last fall.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you wonder why prices are going up and so on. I mean, the cost to transport product across the water is unbelievable.
And what do they attribute that to? Fuel and labor, or
labor mostly? Mostly labor, yeah.
So speaking of labor, so I know when Jacob was in high school, the number one place that all of his friends and everybody at high school were talking about when they wanted a part-time job, they would come here. Are you still that good for getting labor, or are you looking for staff? Because I know restaurants are looking for servers, and you see help wanted ads on a regular basis for other businesses. Are you looking for employees all the time still?
All the time. Yeah, it's really, that whole dynamic has changed incredibly. You're right. I mean, even 5 years ago, we get this time of year 30, 35 applications a week. We're lucky to get 3 or 4 now.
No
it's
kidding.
Incredible, yeah. Part of it, I guess, is the pandemic. But I mean, if you look at our market, though, I mean, there's a lot of industry that's opened up, from the standpoint of, the types of employees in retail that we need. I mean, they're getting gobbled up, like you say, by, whether it's fast food restaurants so there's lots out there for people to pick from. But I also think the whole dynamics of our market has changed too. I think there's a lot less younger people in our market as well. I mean, and we see that in the sports leagues where, registrations are way down. I mean, I'm sure you guys see it as well, right? Whether it's hockey or, we merged with Port Perry for hockey. I mean, and soccer numbers were way down at one point. And so I think that's just part of the whole community mix.
If you came home one night of your entire career and told Karen, you have to hear about what happened today, whether it was something hilarious or something catastrophic, what would that story have been?
Oh my goodness. I could write a book. We've had cars on the hoist, go off the hoist through the window of the garage door in the air. I could,
oh my.
There's so many, I wouldn't even, wow. Every day there's a new challenge. Oh, where do I start? I don't know. You caught me off guard on that one. I'd have to think about that one. We've had some amazing things happen. You got me on that one. I'd have to think about that one. There's so many things. Like every day there's something, whether it's an employee falling downstairs or racks falling over or customers slipping in the parking lot. I mean, we had one lady one day, she comes in and she's in Crocs in the garden center and, it's wet and it just rained, right? She fell and slipped and sued us 6 months later. I mean, we get like that happens just constantly. We had another lady come in sitting in an Adirondack chair in the middle of the store one day and it broke. What's another good one? I had a good one where this lady came in with her 3 kids and they were running around the store and we had, the big tall gun cases, right? So, the one brother puts his other brother inside the gun case. Oh yeah, the gun case falls over with the little guy in it and he breaks his arm. Of course, that's my fault. So we got sued for that one. A lot of stories like that where, it's amazing. We had I think it was my 3rd or 4th year here. We got a call from a lady that their son had fallen off his brand new bike that he bought from Canadian Tire. So this was in May, but they bought the bike the previous September. And the front wheel fell off and he went over the handlebars and cut his face and his lip and whatever. My fault. It's just constant.
That's going to be our new mantra now. Let's blame Pat.
So
there's something wrong. Let's blame Pat.
Normally we want Dave to fix it.
Usually I always blame Dave Barton, but I think no, blame Pat.
We've shifted.
But there's some great stories as well. Like like a good Huck Finn story. One day we were at the pond. I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and this lady come up to me and said, "Are you Mr. Higgins?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I just want to thank you." Because we can't afford for our kids to play sports or anything. And, what you're doing here today, with free food, you're letting us fish and have fun and it doesn't cost us anything. That's great. Thanks very much. So that's pretty cool too.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So I don't want to make it sound all bad here.
No.
It's exciting in retail though. I can tell you that.
Oh, I bet.
Can you imagine that on the same day? Car goes through a window.
Here, I'll
get a hot dog.
I'll give you a good one that just happened. We have a pretty big garden center out there with a whole structure with the netting over top, a shader system, right? And we just got it all installed and so on. And guess what? We had a wet snowstorm 2 weeks ago. The whole thing collapsed.
Oh no.
So, anyway, we got to put back together and it's just another day in the life of, right? Yeah. But there's lots of stories. We could write a book, that's for sure.
Are you looking at a retirement plan at any point?
Oh, it's in the works at some point in time. Yeah, so.
But not really right now, right? We're not losing you yet.
It's not imminent. No, it's not imminent.
Oh, good. We don't want to lose you yet.
Well, there'll always be another great Canadian Tire dealer that come along. So
there's, to
run our store.
For those people who don't know, your wife Karen was my president for my children's choir for 10 years, and when your daughter graduated from the choir and from my studio, and Karen moved on, how dare she? That was honestly part of the reason I retired was from the choir was because I couldn't replace Karen.
Yeah.
And the two of you are peas in a pod, and the community is so much better for having all of the contributions that you and Karen have both supplied. And we are absolutely so grateful for everything. And I mean, we cumulatively as a community.
Thank you. It's important to give back. I mean, we have a great community that we live in, and, we have great customers that patronize the business, and, it's always been, our
And then
motto,
some
our
who put their
theory.
kids in gun wrecks.
You could edit that. We've been fortunate to, live in such a great community. It's important to give back and be part of it when we can. So that's always been our theory, and our kids as well. So hopefully they'll carry on that tradition.
We're going to do some rapid fire questions.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so if you haven't heard the podcast, the rapid fire basically is our list of, okay, these are going to be fast questions, but if all of a sudden it's not fast for you, it's fast for us, and then, okay, these are quick, easy questions as opposed to something.
Are they one-word answers?
Could be.
It could be, it's up to you. But you could also go on, like we've
Can I
had.
say pass?
Sure.
Now it's going to get good.
I don't think the questions are that risque.
Yeah.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Your favorite car?
Truck.
Well, that was my next question. What's your favorite truck?
Truck. I've always driven a GMC truck. I love my trucks.
What's your favorite color?
Ooh. Blue.
Who is your biggest entrepreneurial influence?
It probably started with the founder of Canadian Tire, AJ Billis. I would say that's been my roots. So,
What would Karen say is your best quality?
happy-go-lucky guy.
Like you hit the wife question, and he looks at me. What do I say? How am I going to survive? Help! Talk me through this.
What is Karen's best quality?
Oh, she's just a genuine nice person.
I would agree.
Yeah.
What makes you laugh?
Lots of things. I'd rather be laughing than, you know what? I mean, just seeing people happy, I think that makes me happy and makes me laugh.
What makes you angry?
Disrespectful people.
If you could talk to one person who is living right now, who would that be?
One person who is living
Who is living?
right now, who would that be? Oh boy, pass. That's a tough one.
You didn't say Karen. So if you could talk to one person now who's passed away, who would you like to spend that time with?
Probably my mother. Yeah.
When did you lose your mom?
4 years ago. 4 years ago, yeah.
When you die and God sees you, what would you expect God would say?
I hope he would say that I'd lived a good life and I was helpful to people.
What's your favorite thing to do in your spare time? So you can relax, you can chill out, because you look like a busy guy all the time. How could you not be? When you do get downtime, what's your favorite thing to do?
That's a neat question because my neighbors ask me all the time, like, why are you doing this? Well, I love puttering. So when I go home every night, Karen doesn't see me usually till 7 or 7:30. I try and get out of here by 5:30. I spend my first couple hours outside with my dog, either shoveling snow or gardening. So that's what I do. Just to get my mind off things, and I love doing that. So, yeah.
Thanks for spending this time with us, and thanks for everything that you give to the community.
Yeah, and I hope that you get at least some time to putter, because like I said, you look so busy right now. So I appreciate all the time that you gave us.
Well, you know, thanks very much for having me, for thinking of me, and congratulations on your podcast too. It's pretty cool. Good for you guys, and thank you guys. You do a lot in the community too, even though you may not take credit for it. So thank you guys very much.
We're happy to keep using our points here.
Yeah, for sure.
So you want to play pickleball?
Yeah, sure. Let's go play pickleball, but only if Pat comes with us.
It's funny, like all I can think about now is the comment after we talk about pickleball that even seniors can play it. It's all access.
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean it like that. Actually, you know what? He's not going to want to come. He's got some bad sciatica. So never. Oh, shoot. This is getting worse. Pat, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. And people can play pickleball regardless of their age, even if they're older than I am.
I don't know much about pickleball. I got to be honest. So I know that it's getting popular. I know that it's the thing for anyone, I guess, including Pat.
Pat would be more than welcome. Okay, I think we need to just go easy on Pat with the pickleball. But Pat, thanks again for creating such a cool space. And in all seriousness, we do want to go try it out.
Yeah, and actually, okay, so I'm being serious. I don't know much about pickleball. So if somebody does know about pickleball and they want to give us pickleball lessons, oh my gosh, this is going to be something where even the name of it, we can run with this. I think...
I want to know where the pickle comes from. I mean, I get the ball part, but what's the deal with the pickle? So let's figure that out.
See,
Careful.
I got a whole bunch here. Just load me up with all the ammo. You know what? We have a YouTube channel. I think we need to do a video of us playing pickleball and throwing it on the YouTube channel.
Yep, I'm into that.
Yeah, so if you don't know us by now, this is Scott and Jennifer, and this is us playing pickleball. And yeah, so anyway, I want lessons. Who does pickleball lessons?
I don't know, but we're going to have to put that on one of maybe our Uxbridge Beat community group here, the Facebook group, and see who can play pickleball and can give us some lessons.
Actually, Joanne Bentley.
Yeah, but she lives in BC.
So we should go to BC.
We should go to BC. If nobody in Uxbridge can come forward, then our bestie Joanne out in BC is going to help us out. Cool.
So we have got something coming up now, and I'm working on it now just for editing wise, and it's sort of going to be a little out there. We went and did an interview with Andy Malcolm, who is a Foley artist. So for those who don't know, Foley is basically I don't want to call it the sound effects, because he sort of exposed us to the fact that it is the sounds in a movie, but there is a difference between sound effects and then Foley.
So specifically, he said, Foley are all the sounds that you hear that would be naturally occurring versus sound effects, which are additional sounds that you can actually attain from a sound effects library.
Right. And so basically, Andy did a tour for us, and we went all through the studio, and there's a lot of visual. So I'm even listening to this now, and I'm going, okay, and he's going, oh, well, this is our keys, and this is our shoes. And so it's really hard to see any of this. But at the same time, when I'm listening to this audio coming back, it's so interesting. Like, all I can think about is my mom used to listen to these radio dramas, and like the Lone Ranger or the Shadow, and there were all these sound effects and everything in the background. And so I think we're onto something with this. It's going to take us a little time, because I'm going to have to edit this, because at the same time, like I said, there's a lot of this is visual, but just what an interesting day we had just with him and going around and learning and things that I wouldn't even think about that you'd have to.
And I took lots of pictures, so we're going to be able to create a good YouTube snapshot with that as well. So hopefully we can line up, when he's talking about stuff like, here are the drawers of all the keys, and here are the drawers of all of the, and it's hard to explain the magnitude of this place. It's massive, and the storage is just massive. It goes on and on and on. It's all very well labeled, though. Yeah,
when you and I decided we were going to do this podcast, and we were talking about all of the interesting people in town, and Andy is definitely one of those people. So this is just one of the reasons why I really like doing this podcast with you. And for those who don't know, this was all Jennifer's idea. So I just sort of went with it, and now we're having lots of fun, and we're meeting some extraordinary people. And
I'm having fun. You're stuck doing all the editing. Maybe I need to start pulling my weight a bit more in that department, but you're going to have to teach me. Okay, so there we go. So I need pickleball lessons, and I need audio editing lessons. I'm going to just add that in with all my spare time. How's that?
Perfect. Should you do some of the editing? Perfect.
Yeah, but can you go do the dishes while I do some editing?
No, I'll be busy playing pickleball. Thanks very much for listening.
Thanks again to Pat, and looking forward to launching our next episodes.
This has been a Capsule Broadcasting production. We'll work for pickleball lessons.